Invincible Season 3, Episode 2.
Hey, I got fresh fish here. Come and get your fresh fish.
Do people like that still exist? Something's about to go wrong.
Hey.
Is that Cecil in a wig? Is it young Cecil? Is this a flashback? That's why there's a guy yelling about fresh fish. Old-timey times.
Namaste, friend. How can I help
Oh, so it's the 70s. This was trendy for a bit, right?
Asking, but I think it's a little late for that.
Die, hippies!
Whatever you want, just take it.
It's not your eat or pray or love.
Nothing here. Tip was a bust. Repeat. Tip was a bust.
Maybe we are shooting hippies this episode. Yeah, you should open the big mysterious doors before you report there's nothing. It's not very peaceful of you. That's a great cover, actually.
This place will be swarming with agents in minutes.
No, he called it off.
You gave the all clear.
Is this where Cecil learned always to be prepared with like 8,000 backup plans? Promised myself I would never be caught off guard again.
You're gonna set that thing off? Kill thousands? What for?
Someone like you could never see the beauty in it.
He's trying to understand. You're kicking him and punching him.
The survivors will inherit a new world.
Classic new world.
Casting off the shackles of industrial society.
Oh no, it's Mrs. Doc Seismic. Don't put these two in the same room. All right, she's extremely guilty of the sin of being boring, having a boring villain outlook. New world, gotta crack a few eggs, yada yada yada.
We shall return to the natural.
Lady, you don't know people.
I also don't think you know nature. Nature's not that friendly, really. It doesn't like you.
Seems I returned just in time.
There's two of them?
You and your nightmare state will never stop the order of the freeing fist.
It's so beautiful. It's so great. Freeing fist. That doesn't just say it all.
It was code for come stop these nut jobs.
He was already prepared. He's always been prepared. He's always been that guy.
Life on this plane is only a distraction.
Oh yeah, they're truly zealoted. It's so beautiful, this higher plane. Wonderful! Oh, do you feel the divine spirit of nature? Yeah, that's not good. You don't want to touch that. Is Cecil a Donald? Is Cecil also a Donald? Wow. Yeah, this is one of those things where it runs the risk of you just starting to see it everywhere. If we've established that Donald can die a billion times, and Rick, how deep does this Donald conspiracy go? That couple's philosophy, I think, is probably the hill I've been dying on the longest on this channel, where people get so lost trying to create this weird abstraction of beauty and meaning. I would argue largely because they can't find or can't see the actual beauty and meaning in things that are real about their lives and the world. It's not this life that's beautiful. It's like this phantom plane. Everyone knows reality sucks, right? So let's escape to some non-reality and claim that the reality we failed to understand is a lie or a scam or it's for people much, much stupider and less holy than I. The nature stuff is always kind of funny. The temptation is to think about life in the world as just a concrete block, you know, something just emerged perfectly formed, when really it feels more like there are updates, you know? There's a minimally viable product that allows things to scale to a certain bottleneck, and then nature releases a patch that helps break through that bottleneck. It's messy. There's a lot of footnotes and things added on and browser extensions and what have you. That's one of the reasons why it's hard to capture and codify conduct or morality perfectly. But it's definitely not like nature was just super kind and benevolent and then humans came and messed it all up. Fundamental operating principle from nature seems to just be survival, right? And that, like a lot of competitive environments, ends up being pretty meritocratic and cutthroat. But then look, once that's been arranged to a certain point, it turns out that if you have benevolence in an animal population, long term it raises the possible yield of that species. And so that gets selected for over time. The kindness and generosity is a patch. It's not a default feature. For our purposes, animal life created kindness, no? And then humans kind of took it and ran with it. Anyway, that was really great character development for Cecil. He's so badass.
17. A fraction of what it would have been.
That doesn't...
Who won, Cecil?
That doesn't feel
Ask
good,
the
yeah.
families of the 17 if they agree.
This is really interesting. This is way more heartfelt than you usually think about Cecil, right?
They missed a spot.
It
Keep
was
it.
all that was left of my real skin. They wanted to replace it, but I wouldn't let them.
Why not?
It's a reminder.
It's a reminder. I messed up.
It's tough,
Never
man.
let it happen again.
Respect, though. That's just raw, brute responsibility. And in a way that's productive. It's dangerous, right? It's not perfect, but it created this. Oh, this is, I see. This is relevant. We're still using them.
I fixed them.
Cecil went through the same arc. that Mark is now going through. This guy getting freed by fists. Come here and get freed. Freeing embrace of nature.
Get your head out of your ass. They just saved our lives.
Then let me express my gratitude.
Oh, he murdered them.
I don't work with criminals. Not even if they're...
Invincible. Damn it. They did this so well. They disguised it so well. I will never get caught again. I will leave this scar of failure as a reminder. I'm really looking forward to the comments on this issue in particular. I definitely understand how unpalatable this is, but I also think that if the goal is, and this is going to sound stupid, something like just as much goodness as possible, given the fact that someone's wrongdoing cannot be undone, pain cannot be undone, nothing about the past can be undone, you only have the moment and the future to work with, the best possible outcome is for somebody to turn it around and do good things. As I said last time, there are some sort of unsolvable logistical challenges to that, which is why we do things the way we do them. We err on the side of caution, which maybe is the best way. But critically, I think there's a distinction between that argument, let's think about this carefully and not take risks with people who have proven themselves to be dangerous, and the separate but often tied together emotional thing of like, I need my worldview to be righted, somebody must bleed. It's very tricky and tough to separate that, but revenge is not a moral good, and the spirit of revenge and anger-fueled desires to want to see people suffer is not an argument for what is best. Maybe I would even care a little bit less about this distinction if I thought it was limited to like the most extreme cases where people just do atrocious things and there's this rage-fueled desire to see them burn. It's like, okay, I get it. Except that I think there's kind of a framework of thinking in that trickles down into things where it's much more damaging when there's way less at stake. So like this sort of categorical thinking of this person is bad and this person is good leads to the trap of getting stuck endorsing people or factions or whatever down very dark roads simply because there was something prior to that was determined to be good. And so they've been assigned this label of good. Or the reverse, where this person is bad and can only ever be bad, and everything that flows from this person is the work of the devil without any evaluation of the actual details of the things step by step as they occur over time. Extreme reactions wanting to see people die because of like something they did or said. I think it's the same mechanism roughly that leads to that. It's difficult work, so it's a lot to ask, which is why it's not practiced that much. To really get as deep and nuanced into a thing as one possibly can get. No one can do that in every way about everything. You kind of have to pick and choose. But I think for the other things, it's at least generally a good idea to exercise some caution in the judgment. And also critically to try to allow for time in the analysis, because time is a really powerful thing. We only need to look at ourselves to know that who we were at one moment in one point in our lives is not the same person that exists 1 year, 5 years, never mind 10, 20 years later. Speaking of punishment, I don't work with criminals, I just live with them. They sent him to the villain prison? That seems harsh. I mean, it did kill heroes, allegedly. Welcome to prison, which is sort of like criminal university. This one looks not so bad. Oh, this is a friendship in the making. I can already feel it. I bet he's real soft.
Good luck.
He looks sensitive.
His last cellmate left in a bucket.
Probably said something mean. I question the practices of this prison. Is there a safety protocol in place?
Hi, what's your name?
Great start. See, he could have gone right into the defense and fighting, established dominance. There was no dominance that could be established though, so. Oh, that's cute. They're reading together.
Boss, you got a visitor.
I also have architectural questions about
Why are
this
you
prison.
here, Radcliffe?
Do you mind?
Anything you can say to Cecil, you can say in front of me. Well, I mean, like, yeah, he reformed those two villains. He can reform Cecil, no?
I want you to replace me.
Radical.
No wonder they want you out.
There were 3 deaths a week in this place before you got here.
Oh, he reformed the prison. Wow.
3 years later.
You have no
And they call him
idea
boss.
what I've had to do to make it this way.
This is so inspiring. Cecil, the kind of guy that will just apply who Cecil is to whatever is in front of him. There's no excuses there. It's just who he is, and the world passes through him. It's so cool. It's on the other end of some spectrum where it's like, you're just the one who passes through life helplessly. He even got them into reading. I haven't verified this at all for myself, but I heard there's some program in prison where inmates get to take care of cats, and their rewards and punishments are based around the cats, and that it's apparently been effective. Don't know if it's true, but believable to me in concept.
You did exactly what you had to do. You brought order to chaos. Nothing more, nothing less.
You got this guy sweeping.
And now it's over. If you take the job.
No.
Respect.
You can be the good guy. Or the guy who saves the world. You can't be both.
I would, oh yeah. Well, that's a really tough one too. This is so interesting. I mean, I feel there's a lot of truth to that. The concern I have there is that, like I said earlier about the whole slippage thing, I think that lends itself very easily to a slippery slope where you just start justifying all sorts of things. There have to be some values or just something more objective that isn't decided by you and your assessment of like what is good and what is bad and trying to play arithmetic with people's lives. And in conversations I've had about this, the accusation is that that's not pragmatic, that is in some sort of idealistic, non-practical realm. But actually, I think those are the ideals because they end up being the most pragmatic. It's just not immediately obvious that they're pragmatic. You can take the earlier example of competitiveness and kindness. If the measure of success is net resources and survival, why not just cut everyone's throats constantly and just amass power and take what we want? That clearly works. Force is basically the most underlying, most solid foundation of power that all things sort of flow into. And to counter that with like, why don't we all just be nice to each other and not do that, sounds idealistic. But then the truth of that is, if you have a society that can forego the immediate dominant strategy of using force as a means to get what you need, you end up with greater material output and wealth later because you have a stable enough system that isn't always on the verge of collapse by like an invading force that's bigger than you, that has time and resources and energy to devote towards just growing. Once again, time being a critical element of that analysis that's often glossed over. Yeah, holding true to virtues might mean in many cases you lose in the short term, but the only way to get out of that cycle is by promoting virtues long enough so that those virtues take hold. And once those virtues take hold to a sufficient extent, there's a tipping point where those become obvious and they become the foundation of whatever system you're in. And you can see where this goes wrong in the opposite. A very low stakes but interesting, I think, example of this is comparing behavior on public transportation when a train, for example, arrives at the stop. Of course, everybody wants a seat, but cultures differ in how they treat this. The optimal immediate solution is to not wait for people to get off and just bum rush your way in there and get the first seat you can, even if you have to shove people out of the way. And if enough people do that, that becomes a dominant strategy, with the result of some people occasionally getting a seat that they wouldn't have gotten, though the strategy defeats itself because everyone's doing it now. And at the same time, all commuters are more miserable on net in that process because we haven't solved the problem of seats, but we have made trains slower now and you are getting bumped into and shoved. And there are places where people have intuited to that tipping point. If you just wait 5 seconds to let people off, your chances of getting a seat are more or less the same, but everything is much smoother and more pleasant. And so it's a net win. And how did the functioning train society get there? Just enough people practice those values, even at the suspension of their own immediate desires. That, I think, is the practical argument for values-based thinking. And here we are.
Protection from what?
I think we can revisit this a little bit, though. We can fine-tune. This is a real breach of faith, too, because he's been training Mark.
Abilities I only use to help people.
Who are you helping right
Okay,
now?
right.
You see things one way and you won't make room for any other viewpoint. You threaten people who disagree with you.
I don't threaten.
No?
Well, what is
Because
this?
you're scaring the shit out of me right now.
I'm not even doing anything.
Don't... Okay, we need to take a deep breath. This is all solvable, but not right now. This is like an anger spiral. It's almost like he's a teenager or something. I forget if this has been introduced. What are the properties of the White Room? It's got to be more than just these things.
Tell everyone how you really run this place.
No, that's not it. This has crossed the point of even having a point. There is a legitimate point to be made for Mark, but I think what happened is it started there. He kind of planted his foot down too firmly, and so now there's an ego battle happening. You should try to be this angry when you fight the Viltrumites.
Is that all you got?
Why did you have to ask that, kid?
I feel Cecil's sadness in this scene. I think he actually really likes Mark and believes in him.
I don't want to hurt you.
That also is not the right answer.
I'm not the one who's gonna get hurt.
You said you don't do threats.
Yeah. Well, people change.
This is going well. It was a fast change, too. Oh, no. He had this. When did he put this in? This is a huge breach of trust, and this just solidifies Mark's anger.
Turns out we can transmit it to your earpiece.
Okay. It's a little bit better, but still
Not that earpiece.
not good to
One
know.
implanted when you were in our hospital.
Okay, this is bad. It's terrible. This was not the tact. This was a mistake from Cecil, compounding on Mark's mistake. Oh, no. Oh, God. This is all going so horribly wrong. I don't like this. Man, I thought we were maybe past the most dangerous moment for Dark Mark. We are not past Dark Mark. I don't know. It's tough because Mark is very powerful and he was making a lot of demands. But ideally, or at least for normal people, a lot of times the solution is just to like wait a little bit. Let the adrenaline drain out of your system and then try again. Like sometimes it's really that simple. Don't try to solve anything or try to appeal to logic or reason when people are being unreasonable. That itself is illogical. Maybe most importantly for oneself, like there's no point trying to do anything productive if you're in an emotional state like that. Just walk away for a bit and like a lot of things will just become clear automatically. I also feel like this is maybe not the only thing Cecil has at his disposal.
You said I wasn't my dad. Did you even believe that?
Yes, Mark.
And now
I
you're
still
disappointing
do, so
it.
Stop being
Yeah.
stupid and just move.
Cecil's biggest downfall, his biggest mistake is his honesty, which I guess is part of Mark's point. He's faster than, than the radar
You can't have them
and the
involved.
teleportation. The more I see Cecil, the more I like him. I like what's at heart. Man, is this guy trying. I think the one dark seed in his soul that ripples out and creates a lot of problems is he's allowed himself to cross over just a hair too much into that ends justify the means type thing. To continue just trying to analyze these things along their practical. You're trying to control an outcome, and it makes sense. The rationale makes sense why you would not tell him. You don't want him to remove it. But the farther things play out into time, the less control you have over the expression of the result of your choices. And you can't rule all outcomes with an iron grip this way. And what ends up happening is the things you did wrong end up undermining that very pursuit. So this is a betrayal in the name of neutralizing Invincible. And what's the result? You've weakened the overall system because of that distrust, which makes Invincible more dangerous. This is not any kind of shocking or groundbreaking analysis because I have the benefit of hindsight. I just think overall you undermine yourself by doing things wrong for a right. And maybe sometimes that works out. I mean, there's some obvious cases in the moment where it's like, okay, just choose the practical. But time is a multiplier in the chaos of that. So what's your time frame? What's the big picture plan?
That sucked. I still can't believe we got our asses kicked by Doc Seismic.
We'll never live this down.
We could be stuck mopping up with the others.
I think we all need a drink after that.
You gonna add a shirt to those pants?
I don't know. Are you gonna... Oh, wait. That's the old me.
Growth. Character growth.
There's a thing in my head. You gotta get it out before Cecil finds me.
Cecil? I don't understand.
Stay out of maybe
Step
best,
back.
yeah,
This has
to
nothing
figure this
do
out.
with you.
Slowly. Let's figure this out slowly. He's not trying to kill you, Mark. We need to explain. You need to have words. You need to say stuff and be honest.
I'd like to hear what Invincible has to say.
This isn't a democracy, Bulletproof. You're
This
coming
is
back
the
to
time
GDA with me.
for democracy not force, because you don't really have any force.
I'd never come out again.
Don't be so goddamn dramatic.
I also don't want any of like Cecil's brainwashing though.
Jesus Christ!
Oh my god!
This makes me feel very uncomfortable.
Yeah, for sure. This is not it. Words. Use your words, people. I know this is a superhero show. You're used to solving things with power, but
All of you, I said this doesn't concern you.
Hell, it doesn't.
yeah, this is such bad marketing, Cecil. You are not controlling this narrative at all.
Fuck this!
Yeah, they think they're saving Invincible. They don't know. This just looks like injustice. Yeah, these things can go on, whatever. It doesn't matter. Oh, I get real small. Then I get big again. That's what they call me, small big girl. Maybe that shirt would have come in handy after all. Wow, when I started season 3, I didn't know we would be getting the Captain America Civil War arc. Well, here we are. Man, Doc Seismic did more damage than he anticipated. Oh! I love how ineffective that was against Cecil. That's terrible. Debbie's not going to be happy about this. You really blew this one, Cecil. What can I say?
Shut him down. Yes, the reanimate, all of them. Now.
Yeah, let's try this again. I mean, you've done some damage. You've dug a hole, but let's not dig it any deeper.
Frequency blocked.
Oh, Cecil should have been the one to turn it off. Are they not listening to him? Where is this anger when the Viltrumites arrive, Mark? Where was this anger against the centipedes? You couldn't one-punch a centipede, but you can do all this?
Everywhere you go, destruction follows. Because of your ego. You're a hypocrite, waltzing off to help your mass-murdering dad.
He's right, but
God
this is
forbid
not that
anyone else
time.
screws up and then tries to make good.
Cecil's also emotional right now.
Don't you ever threaten me again. As for the rest of you,
Oh no. But he deserved it.
If you ever come near my family again, I will kill you.
Honestly, I feel like Cecil getting lucky here with a neck bruise. Severe neck bruise. It's a real bad neck bruise.
Get this fucking thing out of my head. Now.
yes. Of course.
Sure. Whatever you say, son of the dude that killed the last versions of us, and it appears to be very angry and violent right now. Yeah, Rex said it. That was like the most profound thing Rex has said so far in this series. Yikes! That's what I call a sticky situation. Every now and then the show pops back in to remind you what it is. I'm so interested to see the takes on this episode. I'll bet a lot of people are on one side or the other.
I told Cecil if he goes near you or Oliver or anyone else I care about.
These eyes, the shady eyes. That's a lot. We don't want that. Debbie?
Oh, Mark.
Why didn't you kill him already?
Uh-oh. Okay. I have growing fears about Oliver. There's two ways this can go. There's many ways this can go, but there's two ways in particular that would be a very sad repeat of season 1. One is Oliver trying to stop an evil Mark. What I think is more likely is Mark trying to stop a rampaging Oliver, like a full-grown Oliver. So next episode?
We don't kill.
But you just said you'd kill Cecil if
I had to make sure he took me seriously.
We only kill if it's St. Clair and if we're really angry.
I can come help you instead. Mom said you'd train me.
Training and helping are two different things.
And the training leads to the dark arc I'm afraid of, because Omni-Man also trained Mark.
He got to be a normal kid first. You deserve that too.
But he doesn't want to be a normal
Get
kid.
down
That's
from
boring. That's a punishment. He wants to be a normal kid.
Don't be in a rush, Oliver. Trust me.
Yeah, that also was not great communication with Oliver.
Why the hell would he do this?
He was scared of me. Of what I could become, I guess.
Okay, this is a huge relief.
I know you. You don't hurt people if you can help it.
Eve is helping him so much unintentionally, I think.
Cecil was right about Angstrom, though. I didn't mean to kill him, but
And he's right about the potential. It's always there for everyone. You never
Cecil
made it
was
as a good
trying to
person.
get under your skin.
Or a bad person.
You are better off without him.
Putting myself in Mark's shoes, weirdly, counterintuitively, I feel like this happens all the time. Where I'm gung-ho, I'm right, I was right. My side is totally vindicated, they're an asshole. And then somebody comes along and takes my side, and I'm like, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know why. Like, just hearing the opinion externally that you're perfect and great, always great. Maybe it's like a different part of your mind that deals with incoming comments as opposed to the internal. And you're like, actually, there's plenty of times where I mess things up. I know I'm not perfect. No one knows that better than I do. Maybe I am wrong here. Actually, I can kind of see their point. I can see their side. I see where they were coming from. Maybe there's some way I was right in the initial issue I had, but then went horribly wrong in my response.
I know things are weird between us right now, but it
Oh,
means
boy.
everything that you're here.
Okay, that's nice.
I was worried about you.
Thanks, that's nice.
What we were talking about earlier.
No, don't need to bring it up
before Dark
directly.
Seismic,
I'm so worried about these foot and mouth moments.
Oh God, we don't have to talk about that right now.
We don't. We really don't.
The future me is almost 40 years old and she's still heartbroken over something that never happened 2 decades earlier. That's who I end up becoming?
She was a different version of you. Who knows what went on in her life?
It's good to know. You may have just avoided that future.
I'll always have your back, Mark. And maybe that has to be enough for now.
That's fair. I mean, there's also no rush. So much for not cleaning up. We don't have any powers for this among all of us. We don't have, like, cleaning powers.
Cecil spent millions to put me back together. Then his dead monsters tried to rip us apart.
They didn't, though.
We're weapons. Like his tanks and guns and all that stuff. Useful until we're not.
I mean, it is a job, right?
Sounds like Cecil went too far. But Invincible made him do it when he broke into the Pentagon and started tearing shit up.
There's two sides to this, at least, right?
Mark faced consequences for once. Good. Cecil's always gone soft on him. Just like his father.
Mark's dad almost killed him, you dick.
Mark's father did kill him. So I also don't like this whole, like, he had it coming thing. You don't step in line, you get the stick. You gotta follow authority or get the hammer of justice. That's the kind of thing authority figures like teachers lean on when they have nothing else of merit. But there definitely are two sides to this, right?
All he had to do was follow orders. Like we all do.
But I've seen most of you not follow orders.
Pipe down, Martian.
I went through just as much as you and Rex. More even. No, you didn't. Not anywhere close.
Not productive, not productive. Doesn't matter.
I can't go hide a backup copy of myself away like you can.
It's challenging for both of you. We're getting distracted from the main issue. It's all coming out now.
I had just as close a call as you did.
This isn't about you, Kate. It's about Cecil.
I agree. It's about the issue, at least.
Get back to work. That's an order.
No!
You're missing the point. We gotta mop these floors. That's the real... Okay, here we go. They already hate him.
Own us. We can just leave.
That seems fair. You can't leave if you don't like it, right?
Yes, there's hardship. Yes, there's sacrifice. If you children don't like that, get out.
That's fair, I think.
The door is over there.
Yeah, I think that's actually the reasonable response. Like, if you hate it, you don't need to be here. You're not prisoners.
Fuck it. I'm out too.
About to be guardian.
I'm staying.
Oh, Rudy. Oh, no. Oh, no, but Rudy's heart and his relationship, but his rational mind.
I'm sorry, Immortal.
Oh, his heart won. I feel like in his mind, he's thinking about like a lot of different things at once. I just want to be with you guys.
Cecil let me live after what I did on Mars, and my bed is a race car, so I think Cecil.
Oh, that's interesting. Wow. Courage. He actually spoke up for himself.
Immortal.
Are you sure you want to leave it like that?
He's being the most reasonable out of all of them, I think.
I don't think so.
They may not be welcome back. I was also thinking about this today, which, I mean, I think about this every day. I really like the idea of trying to contend with the highest form of arguments. Because granted, there are always going to be people who take the low road, and also there's going to be like terrible reasons why people support certain things. But that's sort of so obvious that it's not even really worth contending with. And like the real battleground is the crux of the issue. And the crux of the issue is where the magic happens and where things actually need to get solved. What ends up happening a lot of the time is the main issue, the main point is lost. And instead, it devolves into framing the other person in a negative light, which does nothing for the problem at all. Again, this is one of those things that becomes more clear if we only look at ourselves and our personal relationships, giving people the benefit of the doubt. Probably there is something that needs to be addressed. There's something that is not gelling between the two people. But that's not where the conversation happens, right? What actually gets discussed is all the million slights that person did before and all the great things you've done before. And the game becomes racking up points with the foolish assumption that that's going to solve the issue. Trying to score dunks on your opponent, who maybe is a loved one of yours, until they're in so much pain they just agree you're right, which never happens, not once, ever in history. That's the real civil war, the civil war of our lives.
That is the most messed up thing I've ever heard.
So he just
It is messed up.
does whatever he wants? Makes more of those things?
Yeah, it's terrible.
Maybe I shouldn't have brought it up, but
No, leave with the
I thought you
truth.
deserve to know.
No, it's better to know.
Yeah.
This isn't your fault.
I could have stopped
Right.
him forever.
Mark,
This is dark road.
I've known you since we were 5 years old, and it's just not who you are.
I'm really glad that they're saying this because
You couldn't have known what would happen.
it could have gone the other direction. They could have just totally agreed.
If you killed him, you'd be just like him.
Whew, this is huge from Rick, who is
The
the
world
biggest,
doesn't
or
need
is
more
a big
people
victim
like
of St. Clair.
It needs more people like Invincible.
This dude is the man. That takes a lot of strength.
What was that for?
Taking my side.
The only real part was the people.
I don't understand.
I mean, if we're throwing shots, let's be real. You guys kind of suck as
Say-
Guardians. You're no, like, previous version.
Coming with us.
The ones who got killed by Omni-Man were better.
Oh, it just made logical sense, given the reality of the situation.
Which was that I need you to like me. That was a lie.
Just tell
He's
her
conflicted.
you're leaving for her.
Yeah, right.
As much as you like her, there's something else.
He knows. He's thinking
I
it through.
don't know what you mean.
Yes, you do.
Sure you do.
Why do you keep lying, Rudy? Stop lying, Rudy.
You always were a cold fish, man. But I'll miss you.
Rudy has been a pleasant surprise. Human Rudy.
I know it doesn't compare to Italy, right? But this place does make their own pasta.
Just don't try to compete on this game.
After the gas explosion, it's embarrassing, but I was scared to go out for a while.
I'd be scared to stay in.
Whoops, that one didn't land. Wrong speech choice. Minus 10 romantic points.
How is Mark doing? He's what, 18?
There you go.
19.
Plus 10 romantic points. Or plus 2.
He's at upstate U, right?
Actually, he's
Doing
trying
something way more
some other
important.
things.
Yes, other things.
My sister's kid? Seems like he gets a ride home from the cops more often than not.
Oh, no, it's not like that. He and Oliver are good kids. They just have their...
Quirks, you could say.
Are they special needs?
Yes, they are special needs.
I am screwing this up. Can you tell I haven't been out on a date in 20 years?
You're not touching your spaghetti. I'm worried you don't like the handcrafted spaghetti. None of them have really touched their spaghetti. He had one bite, and it's kind of bothering
Maybe
me.
it is. I don't know.
Eat your food.
It's okay.
She will drink her wine, though. Plenty of time for a wine. No time for spaghetti, but we got time for wine.
How we make the houses we live in, the walls we use to protect ourselves, the roofs over our head.
All right, this show punished me for siding with Eve that time, but... All right, this is good. Learn
Not as
architecture,
easy as it
Eve.
looks.
Eve learned firsthand it's not as easy as it looks. She almost killed families. And more importantly, she embarrassed me. She made me look stupid and I'll never forget her. You know what I think would help Mark a lot is a mentor he really respects. Cecil has sort of voided that potential. The problem is that Mark is rewarded for his power, and so his scale of what is respectable is along power lines, and no one is more powerful than him, so he's the ultimate authority. There needs to be some realization or some failure of power at some point, or someone coming in and showing him something more important than power that commands the respect in that way, that he can then lean on and actually get guidance. Because the risk to him is flying off the rails. Here's a wild hope. Maybe that could be Omni-Man, his father. Interestingly, though, you sometimes can get mentorship by becoming the mentor. So it also can come from Oliver. If he sees Oliver going down that road, it will be an objective look, kind of like a mirror into himself. That might be a wake-up call.
Invincible wasn't willing to give him another chance. I'm hoping that you'll be more open-minded.
It's probably safest if he's here.
It will be good to have Darkwing on the Guardians again.
And you give it time, let him prove himself, watch him carefully.
He did murder people in Midnight City. It was one thing calling him in when we had no other choice. It's another putting him on the Guardians.
It's not great PR.
People change, Donald. Bad guys reform, good guys forget what they're fighting for.
It's fluid. It's more fluid than people want to admit or think about because it's uncomfortable.
No match in our system, sir. We don't know who this is, or if they're friendly or not.
Oh, this is the introduction of Omni-Man?
Jesus, we better hope he is.
Man, that's a back statement in hindsight.
And sir, what if he's hostile?
And Christmas comes early, and you all get that new director you wanted.
He went on himself. That's some real leadership. Hello, what's your name?
I'm from the planet Viltrum. My government sent me here.
I think you mispronounced
to help protect
Vilcrum.
the people of your world.
Huh. They did they? What's your name?
Yeah, just like the prison. The method works, I guess.
All that crap you said about the World Betterment Committee. Talk about a fairy tale. You don't get something for nothing in this universe.
What do we do, sir?
I like how he had him pegged from the beginning.
As long as he saves lives, I don't give a damn about his motivations. But track his movements, sort a file, and get the eggheads working on countermeasures.
Man, this is such an interesting episode. So many questions being raised.
Here.
I think one way to read this is that he's repeating the same mistake he made with Omni-Man with Darkwing. But the interesting and difficult to answer question there is, if things don't go the way you hoped or expected, does that mean you made the wrong choice? Personally, I don't think it's wrong to give Omni-Man a chance. Of course, in hindsight, we know what Omni-Man went on to do. Though, counterpoint, we also don't know how much good he did and what would have happened without him. But just granting the point that it went terribly, it's easy to think it was a mistake to trust him, and it also might turn out to be a mistake to trust Darkwing again. That is the logistical danger of these issues, for which, again, there is no perfect solution, which is why it persists. But on a values level and long-term and aiming for something that is something like the highest good, you want to leave room for people to grow and change and go on to do good things even if they've done terrible things. This is not the same thing and maybe an unfair, sort of ridiculous example to try to illustrate this, but if your benchmark for evaluation is reducing all possible damage, take like a romantic relationship. While your girlfriend might cheat on you, that's a real possibility at all times. What do you do about that? The best thing to do is just trust them. And then if things go wrong, it's disappointing and terrible, but you adjust. You don't like preclude all possibilities and treat them as offenders before they are. You do like keep yourself strong and protect yourself financially, etc., all that, but you give people a chance.
We can be the good guys, or we can be the guys that save the world. We can't be both.
Keep repeating what you were told, and I can't launch this critique from any position of authority. Cecil is the man and is doing his best in ways I probably never could, but from the comfort of my chair, I think there's some fine-tuning that can happen there. And it sounds like he's saying it as a concession. It doesn't sound like he's fully in love with that either. It feels to me like an excuse, something he's acknowledging as an excuse.
I know you think being friends or having my back or whatever is enough for now, but it's not. Not for me.
Then we went full throttle real fast.
When Cecil attacked me, I thought I was gonna die.
Oh my God, that's awful.
Don't use her as your, like, emotional pain crutch, though.
I need you to be sure.
I am.
Oh,
I mean
no.
I'm an
I have a bad
idiot for
feeling
not
about
realizing
this.
it sooner.
He's so impulsive.
If you don't want to date me or you're not interested, I can't change that.
You also can't promise to be sure forever.
Let's give it a try.
If I'm Eve, I don't trust this. It's too fast, too soon. It reeks of, like, something else.
Okay.
Okay.
And I'd be willing to give it a try anyway, but, like, scale into it, I don't know. This is so much, so quickly. It's almost awkward. What are we supposed to, just kiss now? Okay. I thought we were like done with the awkward, terrible love stuff. After Amber, well, Amber was bad for a different reason. The crossover in badness here, it's going to be a mess. I mean, it's actually very real, and I get sympathetic embarrassment from it, because it reminds me of some of those high school relationships where, like, you make a confession and then agree to be boyfriend and girlfriend and then never talk again, or only talk through texts. The great irony being you got along really well, and it was so fun, and maybe even romantic before that moment, and that moment just put a lot of weird pressure on it that makes both of you want to avoid each other. I think Mark really does have feelings for Eve. I think their dynamic was better before. It felt really natural and they have a lot of chemistry. So that's fine. And it could work out. I mean, it could just be like an awkward start and then they get to know each other and it develops organically and naturally, beautifully. But I'm a little bit suspicious because of how quickly it happened and how full throttle it went for no reason. He mentioned the near-death experience thing, and his rationale there is he could only think about her, and so he must really like her. But I think it remains to be seen if that wasn't just like him being super confused and hurt and just trying to like place his emotions and affection somewhere. Some people seek relationships at their lowest point because they're just looking to feel good. The problem being, as soon as they get their feet underneath them again, the relationship ceases to be useful and loses its impact, because it was never about the person in the first place. They were a means to an end, which is, I guess, a large theme of this episode.